Welcome to the shop. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Garage Groove. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for coming on to the channel, and thanks for being patient. We've been having some gaps between the episodes. Work's been busy, you know, and we've talked about that. Work comes first. So anyways, we are on a mission to build that bike combined with that bike over there and make one nice one, and we're gonna go ahead and sell it. Now, we ran into a lot of problems with this engine. If you remember, this bike was a jalopy and a mess. Okay, the motor had several issues in it, and we're not done addressing all of those issues. The first issue that it had was the stator side. It was all messed up. Remember, the guy said the chain broke, it took out the cover, it took out some of the stator, it took out the stator housing. We had to replace all of that. You can only do this one way. It's the right way, right? So let's take a look at this just for a quick recap. We had to put, the only way to fix this leak was to put a little bit of JB weld on it to do it correct. Now we're going to run this thing. We're going to get that oil nice and thinned out, and hopefully it retains it. Otherwise we're going to have to go back to the drawing board on that. We fixed all of this. We cleaned it. Remember, it was all dirt and mess. We put a new housing in it. We put a new stator in it, and we got it sparking really good, if you remember, right? Okay, and then we checked the compression. The compression on this thing was a mess. Take a look at the rings. Two sets of rings here. This set is the old rings. These are the brand new rings. Let's take a look at these. So we have, these are the dirty old oil rings. There's 3 of them. 1, 2, and 3. These are the new ones. And they look fairly the same, other than the old ones are a little bit dirty. If we cleaned them up, we could probably get away with the old ones. They don't sell separate rings. They usually sell them as a package. Let's take a look at the second ring here. Okay. If you notice, this one has a bit of a width wear on it. This is not as wide. This is not as wide as the new one. So there was, look at how much wider that one is. But what's more significant is the top ring. Let's put these top rings together. Here's the old one, and there's the new top ring. That's got a considerable difference in the width. Look how much wider the new one is compared to the old one. There's your compression loss right there. That's the compression loss. We put the new rings in, this whole bundle, put it in, and that compression should be really good. That should be a good running engine. Okay, so you guys got a chance to take a look at the rings. You see how bad that top ring was? You see how wore that was? That was all your compression. That's what, well, that was part of your compression. The other part of your compression is something we're going to address right now. You see that? I'm going to be able to push that in. Wrong plug. That's the right plug. Now this, look at that. I could put this in all the way to the bottom, and then I can just pull it out. That's because these threads are all shot. So we're losing some compression here. Which brings on to the docket our new tool that we got. I had to pay $23 for this, but this should handle it. This is the right way to fix this. Okay, this is not the brand Healy coil, because I think these kits are 70, 80 bucks if I remember right. But if you do these correctly, they do work. These are of a lesser brand, but remember, we're using this thing once as of right now that we know of for this fixing this head. We have to retap this, and the way we're going to do that is they gave us the correct drill bit, so we're going to drill this out to the next size, right? And we have to be very careful to drill this straight. Okay, then we're going to tap it with that, and then we're going to put in our insert. They gave us, they gave us a bunch of these inserts. These are 10 millimeter by 1 millimeter. The 1 is the pitch, how far the threads are apart, and that is going to match what we have here. See that? That's going to match that. So this is going to ultimately go in here. We're going to fix it in. We're going to bust the tab off, and it's going to be in there permanently. Okay, so we'll get part of our compression back from here. We're going to have all new gaskets. Our piston rings are going to create monster compression, and this bike should be ready to rock and roll. Okay, so what we've done so far is we have taken this and very carefully, you have to hold it on a vise, something like this, and you have to get the right angle, and you have to brace. I braced my one arm. I kind of free-handed it, but it went in fairly straight. It's a nice circle, and we're going to go ahead and put the new threads in with the tap that they have supplied. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll return. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It's been a couple days again, man. We've been having a busy season at work, and I just don't have quite the time that I did, so I apologize for that. As soon as things calm down, we're going to start feeding you more stuff. But we are in the process of the XR, and remember we did the helicoil on this thing. We're in the process of cleaning it. So I've taken it apart. I'm cleaning it. I've got it pretty well cleaned up, but we are cleaning up the valves. And the only good way of doing that was to remove them. Okay, let's go over what exactly does a ring compressor do. That's our new seat is in there. I already put one in, and I wanted to save one so I can show on the camera. These are pretty basic tools. So you put, see, these are dual springs, and they do that so this thing's got enough tension to seal air. Okay, so we have our ring, our spring, I mean, and this is our ring compressor, right? This part right here is going to go right on there like that. And this bottom part is going to go right against the valve. You want to use a magnet, because these things want to go all over the place. They're little guys, and okay, our one is kind of in position. There it goes. Now, when we unloosen this, they'll kind of fall into place, see? I'll show you that in a second here. And that's our ring compressor, or our, not ring compressor, our spring valve spring compressor. It's a simple tool. The design is simple, but you need it, you know? Otherwise you're monkeying with this thing. Okay. So our valves are in, our springs are in, we got our new valve seats in there. Okay, so what I was trying to show, and I had to put a plug in, is see, I like to fill, you see the liquid moving? I like to fill that up with liquid and let it sit there for a little bit. See that? Trying to hold the light and shake this thing. Yeah, you can move it. See that liquid? We want to make sure that this valve is, these are sealing perfectly. You know. Oh, I just lost some. Okay, we'll have to keep that in mind. But I'm going to let it sit there for a little bit. And that's what we do. That's how we make sure that it's a nice seal on there. And there's no air leaking past that. If the liquid, if it holds liquid, it's going to hold the air. So we will check that in just a few minutes, and then we will start putting the motor together. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, so our head is complete. We have fixed the threads on it. We cleaned the valves. We installed new seats in it. I even took out, there was the old, the crushed copper gasket. We got a new one. See this guy right here. So that actually was probably the hardest part, man. This thing was just stuck right in there. I had to take a little screwdriver and tap it out. That was really corroded right in there. But even that's out. So we're ready. We're ready to build. We're ready to build this motor. We're gonna go ahead and, if you remember, this was our piston. We put brand new rings on it, and the only thing we have to do is I gotta clean up the bottom of this cylinder, and but we can go ahead and we'll go ahead and start building this motor. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, we have done a lot of cleaning. The cylinder was actually more difficult than the head was, but look at the surface. We want it nice and flat. Some of these are more stains than anything. That's fairly flat. That's how you want it. The bottom side is nice and clean. We'll clean the outside a little bit more once the whole motor's together and buttoned up and all the crevices and everything are closed off. We'll actually maybe power wash it. The head is prepped. This was a little difficult right here, getting that old copper crushed gasket out of there, but we got it. We got our pins in place here. We have a cylinder that's nice and cleaned. So we're gonna go ahead and put this motor together now, and hopefully it will come alive, and it's all gonna get transplanted into this bike. Okay, welcome back. So what we have done so far is we have assembled pretty much a better part of the top end. Now I wanted to go over something. So a lot of people use regular oil because these are your surfaces of where the cam's going to be rotating. I use this stuff right here. This is the motor assembly grease. Okay, this is very important. I prefer this over the oil. It's got thicker consistency, and I just feel it has a longer staying power, you know, especially when you're first building an engine. Things are expanding and contracting. When you have a lubricant that has a better staying power, the grease heat, the regular motor oil is going to heat up and it's going to seep through things, whereas this is gonna it's gonna stay in one place. Okay, so what we have done is we have assembled the top end of this motor. Now let's take a look at the timing on this. If you can see that circle dot right there, on these, that's facing up. I used a slash mark right there, a paint marker. That's got to line up with that. It's right there. Okay, and then these screws have to be horizontal with that. But more importantly, the cam lobes are both pointing down, so there's no tension on this. And then you can see there's a little bit of play there. There's a little bit of play there. So that's good. And if you remember, we checked the head, we flipped it over, and we filled it up with liquid. You remember that? That tells us that it is completely sealed. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna button the rest of this up, and then we'll check the compression on it and stuff. It should be ready to go. But really quickly, these are the moments where I like to use a little bit of tips. Now we did go over using this grease. I like to use that on the cam journals, okay? But on the cam lobes, I like to use, this is Marble Mystery Oil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a little bit up on top, and that will help in the spinning process. I'm not sure exactly what kind of additives or stuff they've put into this thing. I've been using this for years, and as you can see, this is a fresh bottle. I just got this not long ago, and we're gonna start using that again. There's a couple builds that we did in the past. I didn't use it, I didn't have it, but I went and got it, so we'll start using it. So we're gonna go ahead and button this motor up, and then we'll see. Okay, welcome back. So what we have done is we have tied this motor together, and if you remember, this motor looked pretty horrible when we first got it. Done some work to this thing. Take a look at it. I've even took time to clean it up a little bit. We put this new cover on it. I cleaned up as best as I could. There's a lot of mud and stuff on it. You can see a lot of mud out here on the ground. We're gonna go ahead and pull this motor out. So we have taken the motor out of this thing. Look at the pile of junk. That came out from underneath the motor. Man, this thing was neglected. I mean, it's okay to get all that up in there, but you should clean it afterwards, you know. These bikes are made to get muddy, but you gotta clean them. Can't leave them like that. We've taken the motor out, and I'm starting to think this thing that we JB welded right here, that's already starting to, we haven't even started the motor yet, and it's starting to get a little moist there. I think that thing's gonna be a problem. I think that's gonna be a problem. That's gonna end up holding this project up. See that? It was bone dry. But as soon as we started tilting the motor and doing this and that, it already got moist. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. I'd like to get this thing sold, but we can't sell it if it's leaking oil. Nobody wants to deal with it. See that? Keep an eye on it. But I know that was bone dry, and now it's already moist. Okay, we'll keep working. We'll keep working. I'm gonna clean this mess up. That was crazy. Look at that. And that was not from the whole bike. That was just on the skid plate and around the motor. Good gracious. Okay, so that is a wrap on this episode of Garage Groove. Now we want to get back into a weekly thing. I'm really trying to get back into that. Like I said, we've been very busy at work, and that's priority. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. The bike's just been sitting here. I haven't had a chance to do anything. There was absolutely nothing that I could share with you. If it was a trip or if it was anything else I had to fix, I would let you guys in on it, but it's just day-to-day work stuff, so there's really nothing to share with you. But like I said, I want to get back into the weekly episodes. We are working on the XR, and we want to get that sold. So let's take a look. This is where we've gotten that jalopy bike thing out of here. That's what it's looking like. That's the good frame. We switched over the tires onto it, and our motor is in pretty good shape. We ran into trouble on the air filter. This air filter, as much as I like to save money on this project too, I cannot use that air filter. So that is something I have to wait on. I've ordered it. That's coming. And then the most the important piece was the rear brake stay. This thing right here, this broke. Without this, there is no back brakes. And you know, I will not sell a bike, especially one that a child is going to be riding without brakes. So there's no sense moving forward until we get our pieces and we can put rest of the bike together. So that's where we're at. We have the air filter coming. and we have the rear brake mechanism coming. And that's about it. I should have this wrapped up in the next episode. There's no sense. I'm not going to try to sell this with no back brakes or bad air filter. The air filter's horrific, in real bad shape. And to give you an idea, let me show you something. The amount of dirt that came off of this bike is laying, minus the spark plug thing and a couple other things right here. This is all the mud and the dirt. That whole box, 3/4 of it full of mud and dirt that came off of that bike. That's the shape it was in. And we've come a long ways. So we'll have this thing wrapped up. Next episode, we'll have it running. Hopefully we'll have it sold after that. And look at what we have here. Let's take a look at this real quick, just to give you an idea. These are our brand new tires, which we will be opening this box. I haven't even had a chance. They've been sitting here for a few days, and with the work and everything, I haven't even had a chance to open them. But that's for this project right here that's coming up. So we're going to be digging into this as soon as this one is fixed. And like I said, we're going to try to get back into the weekly groove of things around here. So thank you for joining us, and please stay with us. Like, I apologize for not being on as active, but we're going to try to fix that. So we will see you very soon. We'll see you next episode on Garage Groove. Thank you. Take care.